It was the summer of 1963. The victims, two teens out on a date, shot and killed. More than half a century later, the killer has never been caught. Shari Smoyer was 18 years old, a student at Ithaca College. Jack King was 17. He had just graduated from Avon High School. In July of 1963, they were out on a date.
Mutiny of the Bounty was the movie. It was a Marlon Brando movie. It's about 3 hours long.
Monroe County Sheriff's investigator Mike Shannon says the teens were seen leaving the old Starlight Drive-In movie theater in Henrietta before 2 a.m. Hours later, their bodies were found in the parking area of an old Lover's Lane.
Through here is Arundecoit Creek. There's also a swimming hole. It was called Jeske's Swimming Hole, and that's the location of our crime.
Investigator Shannon took us to the scene of the double murder off Jefferson Road, about a mile and a half from Smoyer's house. This is the path the teens drove down to their deaths.
They were both shot, and Shari Smoyer was also bludgeoned in the head.
And what's crazy about this, there's no motive.
Not that we know of.
Later that morning, their bodies were found by a fisherman lying next to the King family's 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air.
This morning, he was taking pictures of the car in which Shari and John had been riding before they were murdered. Today, in this area right...
News 10 NBC's Warren Doremus was there as deputies examined the car back in 1963.
This is a bare metal here. We believe that the car might have grazed along the side and then into it, forcing the car over.
Were Shari and John run off the road, then forced down that old Lover's Lane and murdered? Then Sheriff Albert Skinner said someone saw the car on Route 96 around 2:30 in the morning.
We couldn't identify him, but we saw that there were three people there.
There were three people?
Mm-hmm.
The boy, the girl, and who else?
There were two men and a girl, a woman.
So who was the other man?
Is there any prime suspect as of this moment? There is no prime suspect at this time.
55 years later, the mystery remains, but there is evidence that could lead deputies to the killer.
We do have bullet casings, and we do have some recovered slugs.
And those were found out here in this field, right?
Yes.
News 10 NBC obtained pictures of that key evidence never seen before. Smoyer and King were shot with a .45 caliber handgun. Investigators worked relentlessly, gathering anything they could find at the crime scene.
There's no doubt about it. Human blood is present in this sample.
Neighbors at the time reported hearing shots around 4:45 in the morning, hours after the victims had left the drive-in.
We have about a 2.5 hour gap in time where we don't know where they went, we don't know who they were with, we don't know what happened.
A mystery.
A mystery.
Over the decades, the sheriff's office has investigated hundreds of leads, but the case remains cold.
Unfortunately, I think we may be running out of time if the suspect was in their teens at the time. It's a race against the clock.
Anyone with information on this double murder in Pittsford from July 13th, 1963 is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number is 585-423-9300. Coming up next week on Inside the Evidence, hear from Jack King's brother and his thoughts on who the killer could be. Nikki Rudd, News 10 NBC.